The big misconception Russia loved to portray is that 1945 was a liberation for Eastern Europe. It wasn't. If you focus entirely on the glory and the triumph, that distracts attention from very serious questions about the way the war started and also what happened to Eastern Europe after the war finished. One of the best signs that the war hadn't really ended in 1945 is that the fighting didn't stop in 1945.
Soviet society was part and parcel of the ongoing protests against communist rule that were going on in Central Europe.
Large, well-organized resistance movements in Western Ukraine, in Poland, in Lithuania, fighting against the new communist occupiers, sometimes the same people who'd been fighting against the Nazi occupiers. What they wanted was not to be part of one empire or another empire. What they wanted was to be independent. The deportations organized by the Soviet secret police from the Baltic states and from Poland, from Ukraine and from other places, shape the way in which people interpret their post-war experience.
Which shows us that there's no moral case for communism. And it's a crucial lesson that we need to learn that. We need to use that narrative to counterbalance the rather simplistic narrative that we conventionally have of World War II.
And in a way, the Second World War didn't end for the Baltic states until 1991 and the restoration of the independence that they'd lost in 1940. It's really important that we celebrate the defeat of Nazism and that we mourn millions and millions of victims of Nazism, particularly those who died in the Holocaust. But we need to separate that question from the question of Stalin's culpability.
The Soviets had very successfully honed their own narrative to say that the war only started in 1941, that they were always on the side of the Allies, they were always on the side of right versus wrong.
That's just simply not true.
If it is better known, it's a very useful antidote to this rather rose-tinted view of Soviet history.